Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together, we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week, we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. Howdy, folks, and welcome back to Welcome Home Fort Worth. We are so excited.
Oh, we're that excited?
We're that excited about you being here with us. And so we can talk real estate.
Yes.
And we can talk all things going on here in Tarrant, Johnson, a little bit of Parker, a little bit of Ellis, all the good stuff that we service here at the TCG team. The Christian Berry Group.
That's us.
Because we need a jingle, and we haven't had one yet.
We do need a jingle.
We need a jingle so bad.
Yeah, we do.
We'll do it someday. Today we're talking every single month. What we like to offer folks is just a refresher course. Mm-hmm. We know that the average homeowner stays in their home between 7 to 11 years, right? So you're going to do this real estate thing a lot less frequently than we are. We're in it every single day. We're in the trenches every single day. And so what we want to do is offer you a refresher course to say, here's what this is like in case you forgot.
Right.
Here's what to expect along the way. Here's what's coming.
Here's the new things.
Well, new things, if you can. Really, for new things, I would say the best thing you can do, because we're not going to spend a ton of time on this today. Mm-hmm. New things would be go check out Market Update. Market Update's the best way, the best piece of content that we create. Absolutely. That keeps you up to date with what's happening. Like if you were going to jump in the market today, what it would feel like. And so check that out. If you haven't already, highly recommend it. It's my favorite episode we do. This one's pretty cool too. But Market Update is just so special, y'all, because it's just data. It's not fake news. It's not headlines. It's just here's what's going on. And so today is a refresher course in how to buy a house. And so if you're somebody who's interested in buying a house or somebody who's considered that, or somebody who just maybe you're a year, even 2-3 years out from that, and you just want to have a second to remember what it takes to do that, we're going to get into that today. So let's jump in.
Okay, let's do it.
So you have made the decision to purchase a house. You've got kind of 1A and 1B. These are very, very close to each other. I'm going to recommend you start with a realtor first. But really your lender conversation is going to be right there with your realtor conversation.
Absolutely.
And so talking to a realtor, I'm going to recommend that most buyers that I work with don't really treat this like sellers do. Sellers really treat this like interviewing agents. Mm-hmm. Buyers really don't. Yeah. Buyers are really just like, cool, this guy's all right. Like he'll let me in a house. Let's go see, right? If you have a chance to interview your agent, I recommend that. When it comes to an agent, I'm always going to say the biggest thing that I think matters is if you can trust that person, which sounds so like hoity-toity, not hoity-toity, very airy, very, I don't know, hippie or whatever, I don't know. But I just think that that's what, like this person operates on your behalf, and this person is the middleman between you and other parties involved. And if you can't trust them, then that's not a great start to the relationship that takes you forward.
And you're relying on information that they're going to bring to you. Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure you feel like they know what they're doing and that you can trust them.
Totally. Some things that'll help as well are have they represented buyers before for the agent. If they do represent buyers, have they represented buyers in the area that you're looking to buy in?
The type of home you're looking to purchase.
Is it a condo? Is it a single family? Are they aware of what that is? And so those are quick little kind of tidbits. Check out their social medias. Check out their Google reviews.
How many buyers have they worked with?
Yes. And what I think for me, the marker of a great agent in our marketplace is an agent that will do some sort of consultation with you. Does not have to be before you go see some houses. Like if you want to go see 1 or 2 houses and then y'all go to Starbucks afterwards, go do that. Or if you want to have more of a formal consultation before you go see houses, that's great too.
Yeah, they need to be more than just a door opener.
Yes, that's where exactly you nailed it on the head. You're looking for somebody who's not a door opener. You're looking for somebody who truly takes it seriously, and they're going to help strategize. Like it's going to be, okay, you want to accomplish this goal. Yeah. It's both them downloading from you what your goals are, and then it's them kind of crafting a strategy for you to accomplish that goal.
They're going to ask you things like, why do you want to buy a house? When do you need to buy a house? Those kind of
If you can't buy a house by that time, what's your contingency?
What's plan B?
Yep.
Plan C?
Yep. Yeah. Financing, do we have that in order kind of thing? So that's a whole lot of the that consultation. So anyways, if somebody sits down and says, well, what do you say we sit down and let's have a strategy session? That's a cue to say this person takes their buyer agency seriously. Yeah. So highly recommend. That's kind of an industry cue, I would say. Okay, so agent 1A, 1B is lender. Okay. Mm-hmm. Lender, same thing. I'd recommend you interview lenders if you can. Now, lenders are hard to interview because they require credit pulls. And so there are soft pulls and there are hard pulls in lending. Definitely do soft pulls. There are some websites I've heard of that do like in a similar way that you would to like TripAdvisor or Travelocity, I think is the other one. Travelocity. Any of those kind of websites where it'll compare like packages, right, or hotels. There are some things that'll do that with lenders. I've not personally used them, but if you have or you're somebody has, please leave us a comment. Let us know what that experience was like.
Yeah, because we have had clients that have had experiences where when they've done some of those online shopping, then they send out their credit report. I mean, they get like 15 pulls on their credit report, and it's outrageous. So, So just kind of be a little careful with that.
Yes.
Best case scenario is go with somebody that's recommended.
Yeah, recommended for sure, and make sure that their packages work. With a lender, you're going to want to check what's called a loan disclosure. Every lender should give you a loan disclosure. It's basically your
fee sheet.
What's your fee sheet? It's your apples to apples comparison with lenders, right? Because a lot of folks shop per interest rate. And so it's like, if you can give me 7.1 and this guy gives me 6.9, I'm going 6.9, right? It's almost like they use it as the APR, right? Yeah. And it's not at all. And so highly recommend you look at that because you're going to check for both the rate. It'll tell you if that rate is locked in or not. And so if rates, spike in the next 6 months or something crazy like that, does your rate go up then? Or are you locked in at your rate, which is great if you are.
How much is your origination fee?
Origination fees, other fees that they might do as well. The other thing to think about too is your cash to close. Yeah. And so this is going to be things like your down payment. You're going to want to look for, something called points. Some lenders will they'll make the interest rate look good because they know that you as the buyer shop your interest rate. They'll make the interest rate look good by offering more, like you basically come out of pocket more cash on hand at the closing table to pay your rate down more. And so it's not necessarily it's not 6.1 to 7.1 or something. It's really 7.1 and a 6.1 with like 50,000 down or something crazy, right? All right. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples on those two for sure. So 1A, 1B, those matter. This guy's going to realtor's going to let you in houses at the very minimum. We believe that they should do more than that, but you can't get in houses with a realtor. And then
and hopefully the realtor is going to recommend to you some well-known lenders.
Sure. Yeah. And that's also why a realtor is a good place to start, is that a realtor is going to have connections with multiple lenders. Lenders might have relationship with multiple realtors, but the reality is most folks start realtor and then they go lender from there. So anyways, those are kind of your first two. This one's going to let you in the house. This one's going to help you buy the house. So pre-qual letters, what you're looking for here. You really have no true business seeing houses without pre-qual. And that's not trying to be rude. That's not trying to be stingy or something like that. That is just because you have no idea that you can buy that house that you're in if you don't. If you want to go see it, to start getting a feel for it, like I am open to those kind of things. We can go look at some houses and just kind of start feeling out some areas if you want to do that. But really, you have no idea that you can afford that house. Even if Google says it, even if you think it can, like you just don't know until you've been pre-qualified. Right.
Not to mention, we don't know if your loan will fit with the property you want to go see.
Sure, I mean, that's a great point. Yeah, are they allowing VA loans? Yeah. Are they allowing FHA loans? Right. Yep, sure.
It's more than just price.
Yeah. Yep, of course. So that's really important. Those are kind of the first two steps, right? So you've done both of those, okay? Then it's shopping. So then we're going to go find your right house. Then we're going to step into looking for the right house. We're going to check out areas. If you're new to the area, if you're new to Tarrant, Johnson, Ellis, or Parker, first off, the realtor is going to be really important, like more important. If you know the area, the realtor is still important. But if you are really new to the area, this realtor's job is not only to let you in the house, but also to introduce you to the area and teach you about what is going on, where's development going, what's this area going to look like as you're driving by, schools and that kind of stuff, right? And so make sure that they know that too. Talk to your agent if you're new to the area. They should ask you that question, but make sure that they're aware of that, because they'll step more into that role, or they should at least. So shopping, we're looking at areas first. What are the areas you want to shop in? Or are you just shopping price range? Do you not care about the area at all? Are you just shopping, the best deal, which is fine too. We can shop a lot of different ways. But once you've narrowed down the area, then we're moving into specific home. So it's the home itself. It's things like, are you okay with an outdated kitchen, like a 2000s kind of kitchen? Or do you want a kind of updated new build, right? Are we shopping new construction, pre-owned homes? What are you cool with? Do you need hardwood floors throughout, or are you cool with carpet? All of those more minute details of the house itself.
Big trees. What do you want?
Yes.
What do you need in the yard?
Is HOA okay? Is HOA not okay?
How big's the yard? Yeah. All those things.
Lifestyle. If y'all are, massive runners or bikers, are there trails nearby, things like that. So those are the kind of narrowing in, and then finally you found a house. Okay. Finally you find one. You walk in, and you get that giddy feeling. Or you don't, and you decide that you want it anyways. Now it's time for offer considerations, right? And so now it's time to actually craft your offer. Depending on the kind of scenario, right? There's two real main offer scenarios. You have multiple offer scenario, and then you have really more of just you're the only one that's doing an offer. Maybe any good listing agent will say they have interest. Just so you know, like every listing agent should say we have a lot of interest on this.
A lot of showing.
We've had good activity.
Lots of phone calls.
Any of that kind of stuff. Any good listing agent should say that, because they want to keep the facade up at that point, that the house is having activity, because it makes you want it more, because it's more in demand, right? So multiple offer scenario is treated very differently from more of the buyer to buyer or buyer to seller. I don't know. What would you describe that second scenario as? Where it's more of just like a buyer to...
You're the only buyer in the game.
All by myself. Yeah. Whatever. So multiple offers. It really is going to be a conversation, and it's not us trying to pressure you. It's not us trying to make you spend more than anything. I'm going to run comps first. Comps, we're going to base everything from comps, right? So I'm going to look at comparable sales, and I'm going to say, hey, let's say it's priced at $450. I'm going to say, hey, comps either say $450 is good, or $450 is high, or $450 is low, right? If $450 is good, then we know that we're kind of going to be closer to list price depending on multiple offers. If $450 is low, then we're going to know that if we need to go above, like we probably got some wiggle room. And if $450 is high, then we're probably not in multiple offer scenario first off. But if $450 is high, then I'm going to recommend that we don't consider $450 and try to go lower because of an appraisal contingency, which we'll get to in a second.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb, local insights, and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show.
So multiple offers, it's really about what is the offer. You have a good question about this. I think tell me if I'm wrong. It is, what is the offer that if they said no, you feel like you did what you felt you needed to do for that property.
Yeah. That you'd be okay with that.
Because that's the conversation with multiple offers. The only way you win multiple offers is that. Now we're going to filter that through comps, right? We're not going crazy. It's if it's a $450 house and multiple offers, I'm not telling you to go $650. I'm not doing something crazy like that.
We don't want you to have a low appraisal and then fall out of the deal.
Or spend too much for a house. Yes. Or just, we don't want you to spend too much for your house. I mean, just at a very minimum level, I agree with the appraisal for sure, but at the very least, we don't want you to get kind of screwed with your home sale, right? Yep. Or with your home buy purchase. So multiple offers, that's just the way it is. It's just about what is the best you can do that you feel okay with if they still say no, right?
Right.
The other one is a little different. The other one's a lot more like the realtor will go on your behalf to feel things out. They'll kind of go get a gauge for things. You probably get a little more time to kind of finesse the deal.
Questions to the listing agent.
Yep, feel what's going on.
Yeah.
Traditionally, unless if comps say that house is priced below value, then full price might be okay. You may still want to play with it a little bit. Like if it's $450, you go $445 or something like that, whatever. But again, we're going to filter it through comps, right? What do comps say about this home's value? So, and then that one, those offers are going to be structured. There are a lot of terms to go through with offers. The biggest ones that usually matter to folks are the money ones. Okay. There are a lot of time-based ones and date-based ones. Okay. Which that's a whole separate need. If you have that need, you're going to be caring about things like leasebacks, or the seller's going to care about leasebacks. You're going to care more about the closing date. You might care about a financing contingency depending on your lender and loan. That's time dates, right? Money things that you're going to care about will be option fee and earnest money. Okay. And those are your first two, fees that come up in the transaction process. We'll come back to that in just a second. Option fee, earnest money. Title policy, thank you. Survey, and home warranty. If you want the seller to pay for that for you, and any concessions amounts, which you may put towards paying your realtor in some situations. If you and your realtor have agreed to a higher commission amount than what the seller's offering, or you may put those towards a rate buy down or anything like that, right? So that's money. Those are the money things. Did I forget a money thing? I didn't write. That's all.
Did dates.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's the bulk of it. So, right, those things you care about. So we'll talk through all those things. We'll price those things out so you know what you're in for. We'll structure it based on what we believe is what you want to do. First off, we'll advise you based on what we see effective in the market and that kind of stuff. And based on that days on market, I forgot to mention that this whole time. Excuse me. Backtrack. Days on market is a really great indicator for a home's the ability to negotiate. It's a fantastic indicator. If your home is probably over 60 days, I would say, days on market, then you've got some negotiating room. And so that'll be a good gauge, and that'll really guide our conversations as we structure your offer. Okay. Then you're in a contract. All right. They accepted your offer. Congrats. You did it. Next kicks in the first timeline that we have been under so far. Okay. You have 3 days to get your earnest money and option fee into the title company. Okay. That's going to be dependent on your offer. If you want to, we have a whole episode that we broke out offer terms. So go check that out if you haven't listened to that. I think it's called like writing best offers or writing offers to get accepted or something like that. Go check that out because we go into more of these details. For right now, just know you have 3 days and 3 days. That's 3 business days, but it's 3 days. Yeah. And that's going to be out of your pocket. Yeah. Traditionally, earnest money is like 1%, and option fee can be like $250 or $500, but it's something around that. 1% of purchase price, excuse me. So that's kind of around there, but it's all negotiable. So you have your first time deadline. And then the other thing that we have to do is we have to get your inspection scheduled quickly because we have a limited amount of days based on what you put in the contract for your option period. And so it's going to be earnest and option, and then the cost of the inspection that come up quickly. And those are basically back-to-back quick charges that come out of pocket for you. Inspection's held. We see what's up with inspection. There may be a need for specialists to come in. So roofers, it's a general inspection that's done by the inspector. And so he may say, hey, have a roofer come out and look at this thing. This looks like something's up, but I'm not a roofer, right? And so, or HVAC tech or,
and they may give an estimate. Yeah.
Yes. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but then once you've had all your inspections done, it's time to negotiate. So best case scenario, no negotiations needed. Everything looks good. You just move forward with the deal, right? Worst case scenario, let's say something big comes up. You kind of you have 5 major things. You have foundation, you have roof, you have systems like HVAC, electrical, plumbing. Those are kind of your big ones.
Really?
I feel like I'm missing a couple, but those are the big ones we'll go with.
Electrical.
Yeah.
All that.
So you have the big systems, right? And these are the big, and they're big because they're big ticket items, and they really detract value from your home if you have issues with them. So let's say one of the big 5 gets hit. It's a $15K bid to have it fixed or something like that. 3 options at that point. Okay, you can either pull out of the contract first off and say, I'm not dealing with this. I don't even want to be around it. Okay. You can have, second option is you can have the seller give you money in lieu of those repairs. So you can go for $15K in concessions. There is a limit on the amount of concessions that you can have for certain loans. It's 3% of the purchase price for conventional loans, typically 6% for FHA, and I think VA is the same of the purchase price. So that's your maximum concessions. So keep that in mind. But you've got concessions at that point, money in lieu of repairs, right, is what we call that. Or option 3, you have them do the repairs themselves. Now, we typically, depending on the item, it changes, but typically prefer concessions because it lets you do it the way you want to do it with the people you want to do it with, right? Yeah. If the seller's the one doing it, then there's less control there. You can write it in the contract to say the exact company that you want to have do it, right? But it's a little harder to negotiate on that front.
Yeah,
so.
it is hard to get the sellers to do it sometimes exactly the way that you want to do it. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. So we tend to lean towards money, if at all possible. Yeah. The other thing that comes up a lot are systems that are on their way out, but they're still working. So usually we'll try to get some kind of some money on
a
something
split
like that.
Or something like that at least.
Yeah, some kind of contribution towards that because you know you're going to be doing something with that in the future.
Yeah. Yep. And then aesthetic things typically we're not going to recommend you go for it because it'll make the seller really mad.
Yeah, cosmetic, they're going to say you walked through the house, you saw it.
Yep.
You should be okay with what you saw. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So that's all that. And what we just went through right there, which is what I love. I don't know if you created this, but it's fantastic. Mom has a whole framework she talks about called broken, worn, and cosmetic, excuse me. And I have added in the seller anger thermometer to that framework, right? Yes. Sellers aren't as mad as if you ask for things that are broken. Right. Sellers are a little more angry when you ask for things that are warm, and they get really mad when you ask for things. And the reason that matters to you is because you may still have negotiations after this, and you really, we say it all the time on this podcast, people do things for people they like. So if you can keep the seller in that frame of these people are okay, or these people are nice, they may not love you, right? Because you're probably asking for things. Yeah. But if you can keep in that frame, it's going to make them more likely to do things in your favor. And so it's a good spot to be.
Leave you all the contractors that do a great job on the house. There's all kinds of things that sellers will do to help you.
But again, so let's just say we got through the inspection, we got it all agreed upon, we've moved forward, right? Moving forward with the deal. If you're a finance deal, if you're a cash deal, you don't worry about this as much. If you're a finance deal, conventional FHAV, all of these have them, okay? You may have another round of negotiations to go through, which is the appraisal negotiations, okay? The appraisal, there are other things, to be clear, happening in the background. We're tracking HOA docs to make sure they are transferred effectively. We're tracking
title commitments.
We're tracking surveys of a new one's being ordered. We're tracking a lot of things to make sure they are effectively meeting the deadlines that we have agreed to in the contract. So that's what's happening in the background. Your lender's also in the background, taking you through underwriting as well, getting our loan approval as well, and then taking you to funding, which we'll get to in a second. But the appraisal, the best way to think about the appraisal is just that this is the lender's safeguard. Okay, this is ordered by the lender. You work with the lender on this. You as the buyer typically do pay for it. I guess technically you can negotiate that, but it's not typically done. Yeah. It's not very common.
Usually just
you put it in special provisions, I would assume. But
be a return of money.
Yeah, concession amount to cover it or whatever. So an appraisal's done, and this is the lender's way of saying, am I giving you $1 million for something that's worth $250K, right? They want to make sure that they're not upside down on the loan themselves. And so they will have an appraiser come out. The appraiser will tell you the value. There's 3 scenarios, okay? Either the appraiser comes out, again, let's say we are at $450 is our offer price, right? Their purchase price. They're either going to say meets value, so $450, cool. They're going to say is worth more, which is great because that means you have day one equity, so it's worth you're buying it for $450, but it's worth $460, right? So that's a great scenario. Or it's worth less, which is you're $450 and it's the appraisal came back at $440, right? And so there's $10K missing in the deal at that point. There's also scenarios like 0.3B, right, where repairs can be part of it, right, for VA and FHA loans, where it'll not just be here's the value. Here's the value if these repairs are completed, right? Or these things are remediated. So all 3 of those scenarios have different ways to play it. The main one that we care about and that requires the negotiations is the one regarding it comes in less. So if we're at $450 purchase price, it comes in at $440. There's $10K missing in the deal. Okay. At that point, you can either you guys could either, again, leave. You have an out right now because you can't gain financing if this appraisal is not negotiated effectively, right? So you have an out first off, so you can leave if you want to. Or seller pay it, or seller comes down in price, right? So seller says our purchase price isn't $450.
Makes up that gap.
Purchase price is $440.
Right.
You come out of pocket and you bring $10,000 extra to the closing table to cover that difference. An option 4, I lied. There's one more. Or you could split the difference, and you could split that however you decide to work that with the seller. And so those are the ways that you can make that deal still go forward. Again, let's say that you have moved forward. Forgot to mention the appraisal is your third cost, your fourth cost. Option fee, earnest money, and inspection are your first 3 costs that happen in your first week. Appraisal is going to happen probably your second or second and a half week of being under contract. About 500 to 700 is what we see. It's somewhere in that range. So heads up on that as far as cost goes. But let's say you got it all worked out. I'm headed forward. You made it to week before closing. There's still things happening in the background. We're still tracking your lender if they're giving us the right clear to close. We're tracking docs again still to make sure they're coming in on time.
Right.
But we're also scheduling your closing, and we're also scheduling your final walkthrough. Your final walkthrough exists in the process to be a safeguard for you. And so that if the seller just trashes the place in the move out.
Or like we just had that big storm last night and a limb come down on top of the roof before you go to closing.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
So any of that happens, right, then this is there to protect you. If the house is not like you expected it to be, or you thought you in the contract, we accept the property as is, and so if it's not as it was when you first saw it, right, then
bring it back.
Then you got to bring it back
or
to
some
it.
Money.
And so that's a whole negotiation point there as well. That can be. Typically, sellers are good about that, but not always. So sometimes it requires some get you. And then we're to closing, and then you close.
Sign the papers. Wait for the money to come.
There's a lot of things that go into this. So just make sure you got yourself an agent that can really educate you through it and keep you prepared for it. Agents that have systems built around this are really helpful for folks, I find, where maybe even automated emails that have just, here is everything somebody who's closing on a house needs to know. Check that out. So highly recommend that. And then
get ready to move.
And then you fund it. Technically, there's you may sign before that loan funds. So you may not own the house when you sign. Wait till the loan funds. That's when you actually own the house. And there may be a lease back you negotiated with the seller at that point, which just means that you might not be taking occupancy, that day, maybe a couple days later.
Yeah, we always recommend don't schedule any services the day of closing because sometimes it does fund late, especially if they're out of state. So it may take a little bit longer. But that's it. Really, it's those 3 hurdles. It's inspection option period, and then it's appraisal, and then it's underwriting. And then, you're good to go at that point. Yeah,
as long as you get under contract. Because under contract in and of itself is a whole hurdle in itself of getting your offer accepted.
It really is. And hopefully all through that time, your real estate agent's been recommending lenders and inspectors, and they've been recommending anybody you needed for movers or for cleaners or for HVAC or any of that.
Any of the fixes that weren't covered in the inspection that you want to make sure you take on kind of thing. Yeah. So that's the bulk of how you buy a house. I know it's a lot to think about, but that's kind of all the money stuff involved with it. That's kind of all the finagling or the dates or the timelines you're under. So if you decided to do that tomorrow, that's what it would look like.
And it sounds like a lot, but keep in mind that it's a process, and that's your agent. Your agent's like your project manager who's going to walk you through that process, and they'll give it to you in pieces, as well as the whole picture.
Well, and manage things that you don't like. This is like anything in life, right, y'all? Like anything in life, when you hire a service provider, like if you're getting your car fixed, like you're paying, like we can all change our own oil, right? Like you can technically buy your own house without a real estate agent, right? Don't recommend it because it's kind of difficult.
You can have your baby at home.
It's true. You can do. Well, you can do that. It's true. That's hilarious. That was your go-to.
That is what I always compare real estate to. It's like you can have your baby.
That's a better indication.
Cool, but if anything goes wrong, you need to be in a good hospital.
Funny. Yes, that's there you go. That's awesome, and that's a much better stakes to talk about with this than fixing your car.
It's big stakes, man.
But the whole point is like you do bring on somebody, and somebody does get compensated because they save you time. They save you time and they save you energy, right? So this real estate agent should be, voice crack, navigating in the background everything that's going on to make sure that you're covered. And honestly, if you didn't have to think too much or it felt easy, that means the realtor did a good job.
It means you had a really good realtor.
It means they did a good job.
Yeah.
And it did. A lot of folks, I think, I have found, whether it's because of the way movies and TV shows portray us or whatever, but they're just like, realtors just like open door and that's it, right? And it's like, if you thought all we did was open the door for you, we did a dang good job.
Yeah.
We did a really, really good job. And so hopefully you found yourself a realtor that doesn't stress you out, that makes that process feel very easy for you.
And keeps you in the information.
Yeah, it keeps you very, very aware of what's happening. Yeah, so that you know what's happening, but you're not stressed about it.
Yeah.
That's a good realtor. And so that's everything you need to know about how to buy a house. If you have any questions, please comment or shoot us DMs, whatever we can do. We're glad to answer specific questions. Always glad to help any way we can. But in the meantime, y'all have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you back next week. Welcome home from work. Yeah, right. Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you got to do, head over to our show page. On Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.